Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show this evening. And as you see right next to me here, I have a very special guest with me this evening, my good friend Phil Klopp, who you guys remember from the last time on the show. Phil, it's really great to have you back on the live stream for this evening.
Nice to be here again.
And I know we just started slightly earlier with the intro there, but it's always just it's always okay to just announce things even earlier, even when I upload the video much later on the channel. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and cut to the chase. Me and Phil are gonna do things a little bit differently this time around. We're going to chat not only with each other but also with you guys here on the live for about like half an hour, and then we'll take a little bit of a intermission to run some trains around each other's layouts, and then we'll wrap up the video from there. And like I always say here on the channel, we'll basically play it by ear. So Phil, how are you doing this evening? Like I said, we're really glad to have you back on the stream for this evening. And I understand that you mentioned that you went to a train show in Massachusetts just recently. Is that correct?
Well, it was actually back in February, so it wasn't. But it's coming up very in 2 months. It's held once a year in Amherst, Massachusetts, and that's about a half hour north of Springfield, Massachusetts is the closest town actually, but it's not far from Hartford, Connecticut. So I got there, and it was quite an experience. I've heard so much about that show and never been up there before.
And you also did mention that they do have train rides up there too. Is that correct?
Well, in the state of New England, there are a number of tourist railroads like the Strasburg, that go 5 to 10 miles and take, they have Thomas the Tank, and they make it's often to expose kids to riding trains. So there are a few of those up there, and those people who, are fairly close by had displays and pictures of their trains, and you could buy tickets. And so it isn't only a model railroad show, it's like a railroad books and
Mm-hmm.
anything having to do with the railroad hobby. Uh, and there were even some, they had a huge hall full of modular layouts from, from mostly from the eastern part of the United States. But some of those were quite impressive, and took a heck of a lot of work to get them there and all set up and organize a thing like that. And then, if any of you go to York, some of the people that don't come to York anymore, like Lionel and Woodland Scenics and Scenic Express, and some of those vendors were at the show with flying colors.
I don't know if I remember mentioning this the last time that we were on, but I'm actually part of a small non-profitable organization down here in Lewis, Delaware, and we're known as the Lewis Junction Bridge and Railroad Association. And what are most of the things that we do for the organization is to restore actual train equipment. So right now we already have a Pennsylvania N5C caboose on display at the downtown library. And we also have a tender now for a Pennsylvania B6 number 60 locomotive that we're planning to bring in at some point later next year. But we actually did like a little bit of a we actually did a little small event with trains.com on December the 2nd. And not only were we sponsored by the website, but if anyone out there, I'm not sure if you guys were shopping that day, but half of the money that you guys spend on any of the O gauge or N scale or Z products or whatever, half of that money is going to be not only sent to the website, but half of it is also going to be donated to us. So that way it will make things go a little bit faster for us to finally deliver Pennsylvania number 60 down here to Lewis where it belongs.
Sure, sounds good. Sounds like a good project.
I mean, it's still a little bit of a work in progress, but everything that we do is mostly just kind of based off of a hunch rather than actual, calculations or what's the other word that I'm thinking of? Predictions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a good friend, Dennis Livesey, lives in New York City, and he's written some of the articles that have been in Classic Toy Trains and OGR over the years, and he just got back from. He works a lot at Steamtown, which is north of us
Hmm.
in Scranton, and they have Santa Claus trains going right now. So he worked as a trainman on the Santa Claus train, and they stopped at all little towns up there, and it was publicized, so there was big crowds of kids coming to get candy and stuff that they gave out, and
That's always fun to see.
he had a great time. He said that some of the towns had hundreds and hundreds of people that showed up, and the train stopped, and that's uh, certainly he enjoys it, and he's even gets to run the engine once in a while. So it's
Nice. I'm also friends with somebody on Instagram. We're right about the same age, but he's actually in the barstool business. Well, actually, let me just rewind. He's in the model train business,
mm-hmm.
but he also has like a small like barstool business where he does like special license. Can't even say this right. He does he's in the barstool business, and he also does these agreements with other companies to help license his bar stools to decorate them for not only different road names but for also different social media YouTube channels who are in the model train like business. Like for example, he's got like multiple different like road names from Jersey Central to Pennsylvania, Lackawanna. I mean, you name it, the list just keeps going on and on. And he's actually from that area in Stroudsburg. And
Mm-hmm.
Chaz, if you're watching this, I hope that you don't mind that I'm giving you a shout out for this evening. And it's always great to have such good friends in the hobby, which you can really rely on. Hey, what's going on, Tim? How you doing tonight? So since we were kind of discussing a little bit about York earlier before, I don't know if you heard the news that instead of them doing 3 days from Thursday to Saturday, it's going to be from Friday to Saturday from now on. I don't know if you had like any like opinions or thoughts on the whole thing. I just found it kind of I just found it very surprising that they were only do 2 days, and originally they announced that it was supposed to be from Friday through Sunday, but after all the vendors hearing about that, they weren't really too happy about it. So I wasn't so sure if you had like any opinions on the whole thing.
I think the sad thing at York is that the attendance is way down. They would get over 20,000 people at York not too many years ago, and
Hmm.
now they're down between 7 and 10,000. And I think the expenses. I don't know how much they decline as as less people are paying to get in, and I think that's a dilemma in the train world. In so many ways, some areas it's growing, but in many it's not.
Right.
And
And it's funny.
you walk around York, and you see all the wheelchairs and scooters, and you don't see too many young guys like you.
Right.
We do
And
see
it's
guys.
and it is actually funny that you mentioned Train World, because the last time me and my dad went to the October show, which was later this year, I didn't happen to see Train World anywhere. Neither did I see Mr. Muffin's Trains or even TM Books and Video.
Mhm.
So I'm starting to wonder if, since they're only doing 2 days from now on for not only just the April show, but also the October show, I'm starting to wonder if maybe the less days that they do, the more vendors that they might possibly have come to the show.
Well, that's the thing, because I think some of the vendors come and they really want them to stay all the time and be there. And some of them say, I'm not selling anything. It's Saturday. I'm going home early. And then they get in trouble.
Hmm.
That's been a complaint from vendors and I think narrowing it down. Now, opening to the public was another big thing that they started to do. And I haven't talked to anyone about how many people come who are not members of TCA, and it could be, but from just looking around the aisles, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of bittersweet. I still love the trains, and I have a lot of friends there, but I remember when that place was, Neil Young was out with his truck and his kid running the trains around on a layout that he used to take along to rock concerts.
Hmm.
He was performing, and everybody, we talked to Neil like he was just one of the guys. No.
Absolutely. Friday and Saturday is for the October show. I thought it was a pretty busy show in October. Yes, I will agree. Mr. Muffin's Trains wasn't there.
Well, I heard he had some dispute or often people aren't there because some it's because I don't think they have the they don't sell enough stuff to make it worth their while. But others they have disagreements with the people that run the show, and
Right.
that's always so that. And I'm not sure what the details are, but what between those two things, I think that's why some people have dropped out. I mean, Scenic Express doesn't come anymore, and yet they go to this show in Massachusetts that I was talking about.
Hmm.
Now
And like you,
the show in Massachusetts is all trains. It's all scales. It's real trains. Books about trains. It's a lot more than York, which is O and S gauge, and that's
right. And it's like you said, both Lionel and MTH don't really attend the show that much anymore. And now they're just kind of like going off and doing their own thing, attending all these other shows and kind of like trying to find newer and innovative ways to expand the hobby the best they can. And what's also interesting to notice that the original, I did mention for a fact that they did originally wanted to change the show from Friday to Sunday. But another problem with Sunday is that you got a lot of the big football fanatics who are really interested in watching the game during that time. And then you also have other people who might be going to church on Sundays too.
sure,
So,
sure. Well, when I started, I joined TCA in '73, and it was one building. But it was one of the buildings there. The two buildings that are together. Well, it was the largest of those two, and that was it. And the little cafeteria, whatever you want to call it, at the end of that, that's where everybody bought lunch.
mhm.
That one place. And over the years, they got up to 5 or 6 buildings, whatever it's, I forget, not sure how many when it maxed out, but now it's going the other direction. It was full of campers and all the things that make York so special are just less of,
Indeed.
and
And
it's sad.
since it normally tends to get very hectic over in that lunch area, this year me and my dad had decided that instead of us buying lunch over at the show, we just basically brought sandwiches with us. Just kind of just to save some time, basically.
Sure, sure. Well, that's it.
I mean, the food is still good over there, make no mistake, but
Mhm.
there's another part of that situation where I've been hearing some complaints about the food trucks that they've been having over at the show over the past couple of years, saying, "Oh, it's not really the food trucks aren't really that great. They're mostly kind of like mid or generic. Nothing really too spectacular about the food that they deliver over there every once in a while."
Well,
But the
that's
cafeteria food is still good. Make no
yeah,
mistake.
yeah. But you can't go through the buffet line up there at the restaurant that my friends and I used to get a big table and eat up there. That indoor restaurant that they usually had 2 entrees and a couple of vegetables and desserts at the end, and you went through with the tray just like a cafeteria.
Right.
And with that's been gone now for some time.
All right. Let me just check to see who else is in the comments section here. Let's see. Yeah, the food is mid. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Captain Andy. Yeah, it's really nice to have
Should
you
I
on
hear
too,
the
Harry.
other people that are on the line here?
So far we only have like between 9 and 10 people watching us so far.
But if they say something, should I be able to hear it, or is it?
I mean, you won't really it's not like them, recording their voices into an intercom and then sending the message on over to us. It's more or less them just typing, whatever is going
Okay.
on their minds. And
Okay.
once I
So
see
you.
the comment, I can just throw it up on the screen. So that way it makes it easier for both
Okay.
you and me to take a look at, what anybody might be bringing up to us, to our attention, or if they have like a
Okay.
question for us or whatever.
Got it.
Now, guys, I also just want to thank you all for just bearing with me here. I know that I tend to stutter every once in a while here on these programs, but sometimes if you're somebody like me, I always say this multiple times, when I'm hanging out with anybody. But life is always good, but other times it could just be a little bit of a challenge, almost like an obstacle course, where you have to think outside the box on how you want to spend your day and how you're going to improve yourself without bumping into any mistakes along the way. But like a wise man once said, we don't ever make mistakes. We always have happy accidents.
And you've heard the story that when you stop believing in Santa Claus, you get underwear for Christmas. No trains.
There you go. It's always better to have clothing than to stay out in the winter, trying to catch a cold. Now, guys, if you guys have any questions for me and Phil for this for tonight's show, don't be afraid to drop them in the comments section below. As always, we'll try to get to at least all of them as best we can for tonight. Now that locomotive that you were showing me earlier before, you did say that was Lionel, right? That the Lehigh Valley passenger set.
Yeah, the Asa Packer set.
Hmm.
Asa Packer was one of the founders of the Lehigh Valley Railroad and an industrialist here in the Lehigh Valley. And they had a train that went from Lehighton, Pennsylvania to New York City. That was the Asa Packer, and it was, quite luxurious. It had a lounge car and a dining car, and for a trip that takes a couple of hours, but not really that long.
There's actually a conspiracy theory going out there that suggests that, I don't know if you remember who D.B. Cooper was. I know he has nothing to do with trains or anything in that particular regard, but there is actually a theory out there that suggests that he might have been a guy who worked for the rail industry back in the late 60s and early 70s before he hijacked the plane.
I never knew that.
Because in 2017, they analyzed the tie that they found at the crime scene. And when they were examining the tie, they found like a scan of some unusual and rare type of material or some kind of residue on the tie. Even though the tie itself was all black, they used like computers and technology to scan for any like fingerprints or some type of clues that might be able to give them some more answers. And when they analyzed the tie, they found out there was some rare material on the tie itself. And they thought it was a really good piece of evidence because you don't normally wash ties. But anyway, when they found the residue on the tie, they thought that the rail industry might be the key. It might be parts, pieces of the puzzle that might lead into something that will hopefully get them some answers someday.
I don't know the story too well, so I'll have to look it up and learn more.
It is a really interesting theory. I will give them that. But I still think we got like a long way to go until we finally, unveil all of the mysteries out there that we just don't really know the answer to just yet.
Well, you're right.
Okay, so Jeremy is asking, what engines do you guys hope to see in the next Lionel catalog for next year?
Anything Reading. Although they made enough Reading stuff already, so it could be, I think more than anything, there's a lot of new stuff out there, but all these new bells and whistles and smoke coming out here and there and everywhere, and the sounds of the dialogue and the dining cars and things just keeps getting better and better and more expensive too. I mean, the price of these things is, they're
Very
making
expensive.
pretty limited amounts, and that's the key is adding all this electronic stuff. I wonder how many out there are using cab free. Anyone out there who's trying cab free? Do you like it? I'd be curious to know some people's opinions on that. I'm still using cab too, and I'm maybe not as computer literate as some of you younger guys, so that's part of it. But and Mike knows about that.
Absolutely. I'm still, kind of fiddling around with my Cab 1, but I also do have my DCS command control system too. Now, it's not the full it's not the full-on DCS remote system. It's the semi version with the 8 buttons and the throttle with the whatchamacallit, the switch in the center. I mean, so for me personally, to answer a question like that, I'm not really too picky when it comes to, any specific type of locomotive. But I will say that if there's anything that I would really like to see for Lionel to kind of improve on for 2026, I would say definitely the sounds, because if you ever listen to the Lionel sound systems today, whether it's like the whistle or the horn on both a diesel engine and a steam locomotive, they're basically just kind of recycling old sounds. And to me personally, that's kind of like, it's almost like they're kind of taking a little bit of a step back in a way. I mean, sure, they might add like a few new whistle sound effects, here and there from time to time, but they're almost kind of, like I said, they're almost kind of taking a little bit of a setback, sort of similar to what MTH is doing with their Proto Sounds 3 system, where you basically buy any type of locomotive, whether it's a steam engine, a diesel, or an electric. And sometimes you might think to yourself, I remember listening to the exact same sound file on another engine that I have here in my collection, or something that I might have had in the past.
Well, I really like some of these newer diesels and steam engines that Lionel has that have 5 different whistles, 5 different bells. You and each one's a little bit different, and some of them reference the number on the engine. Like engine 4133 that may be a big boy or something. Will talk like they're in the right engine. And that kind of impressed me when I first started hearing it that way.
Right. I mean, I can never disagree with that. But the one thing I will give the one thing that I will tip my hat off to Lionel for doing is them adding the air whistle to the brand new Lionel Commodore Vanderbilts that just released this year. And also the new scale model of the 763E. I think that was a really cool thing that they did. Even though it might not necessarily be a mechanical air whistle, it still is a recording of the original Lionel air whistle from 1935.
The other thing I'm finding, I belong to a model train club in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and they have a big layout, and I'm a member of that group, and a lot of those guys are taking, you can go online and get a lot of Weaver and K-Line and some of the earlier Lionel really nice engines, and put electric railroad system. You change the boards and it'll make an engine that didn't have command control. It'll allow you to make that for it, and it's I think you're talking about maybe $150 for the board to do it,
Hmm.
but it's a bit of a challenge to wire it. But there's some, Williams made some very nice Reading engines, and
They sure did.
I got an MDK uh, GG1 and converted it to electric railroad,
Hmm.
and that's if anyone out there hasn't tried it, and I wouldn't suggest it if you're not proficient with a soldering iron and that kind of thing, because it is a bit tricky sometimes to install them depending on how much space you have. But once
Right.
you have an engine that didn't have a horn, it didn't have crew talk, it didn't work on command control where you can have very very slow stops and starts, and that's all taken care of.
Hmm. Or even Odyssey speed for that matter, because I know that some engines that Lionel made, not just now, but also during in the past. Well, actually, I shouldn't really necessarily say now. So a little bit long ago in the past, some of the engines mostly didn't have the Odyssey system like we do today. They mostly had a mixture between DC or AC powered equipment. But I
Sure.
still love that Lionel is still offering the Odyssey um, speed cruise control system on websites today.
And I think it's gotten better. They still talk about Odyssey, but that word I don't hear quite as much. It's these real expensive high end engines are they'll go around your whole track at 2 miles an hour and and puff smoke, and it's you can never do that 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Hmm. I'm also friends with somebody online who happens to upgrade his Lionel Chesapeake and Ohio 490 from 1995. And what he did was not only did he upgraded the system, or not only did he upgrade the locomotive with the Odyssey speed, but he also put a fan-driven smoke unit and a double cherry switch inside of the engine to give it the more chops for revolution sound effect.
Sure.
And after watching that video, I always wondered to myself how I'm ever going to accomplish something like that on my layout for any of my engines. And at some point, I would really like to do that for one of my diesel locomotives. Now, I have the 2008 post-war celebration series reproduction of the 2341 Jersey Central, which Lionel made in 1956. With the one that I have, the problem with the diesels from the post-war celebration series lineup is that they don't really necessarily have good speed control. So I think, again, having the Odyssey cruise control system will help improve things with the AC powered equipment.
Sure. I agree with that gentleman's comment about the whistles and bells.
Hmm.
I think he's right. It's but it's kind of fun to play with them.
Yeah, they are. I mean, most of the whistles that I've been listening to on all of the newer Lionel locomotives I know they already been done before, but I can still recognize them right off the bat just by listening
Mm-hmm.
to them. Like they have the whistle sound effect for the GS2 Daylight that they came out in the early 2000s. They have the Y6B from the Norfolk and Western Railway, and a few other ones too, which I can't really necessarily name at the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
But they are still very fun to listen to. I will give them that.
It's interesting. We had for Thanksgiving, 22 of my relatives were here on Thanksgiving Day. And, we have a family tradition that we go to different people's homes, but they hadn't been here for a number of years. And so I had a bunch of kids down here. And they just love that old Lionel whistle. It's like the American Flyer had a whistling billboard. Well,
Hmm.
Lionel had a pre war whistle that you pushed a little button down, and it's a good old. That's the best whistle of all. The ones all the engines in the '50s had. That was that
100%.
air driven whistle that that we had when I had when I was a kid.
As did I. And I still have like a lot of post-war steam locomotives that have that exact same air whistle.
Sure, sure. And you used to go in there and oil the impeller there. It would get kind of creaky, but if a drop of oil at the right place fixed it, and it blew great again for a long time.
Hmm.
How about a Vision Line subway? There you go.
That's something that's new and different.
Uh-huh.
Let's see what else we got here. I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean, if you like crew talk and if you really enjoy it, then that's basically your opinion. I can't really take that away from you. But there's also other people that don't really like it as much, like you're saying. I get where you're. I get exactly where you're coming from. I know that MTH. A lot of people say that MTH um, cab chatter sound effects are a little bit more realistic, and I kind of I honestly agree with that. But again, I still think that even if you might not like the crew talk effects that Lionel is still offering to this day, it's still very nice to listen to them every once in a while. I mean, you don't really have to activate them all the time.
Well, it used to be that most of them for a steam engine were similar to each other.
Hmm.
Now, if I'm finding the high end stuff, the crew talk references the engine number that it's in, and it talks like the kinds of things the people who are driving the Dreyfus Hudson or the Big Boy or whatever would be saying. So those have gotten better, and it's not just three or four basic ones, three or four for diesels, three or four for steam. They're more directed at, and some of these dining cars and mail cars and things that you hear them what's going on inside. And I kind of know what I call them kind of crowd pleasers when I get people here, visitors who never seen any of this stuff before and they don't know anything about it and they think that's the coolest thing. The one thing I used to have TV cameras in one of my Santa Fe. I had a TV camera up in the nose of the F3 and one of the last car with two TV screens. There was a guy at York who sold those systems, and they worked off of VHS. Which was this is kind of dating me,
Hmm.
but the Wi-Fi and signals we have in our homes now interferes with it and doesn't work anymore. And the Lionel cabooses and engines and things that have TV cameras in them, what I find, unless I walk around with an iPad or a tablet close to it, I lose the picture.
Hmm.
That's, but I wish someone would get a better TV system that you can put on on a nice flat screen TV and see. I used to be able to go up to my television setup in the up above my layouts in the basement. I could go up there and watch the trains on the television and have the remote control in my hand and, control them even though I was out of sight of the layout.
And then almost have like some sort of a bird's eye view of the layout as the train is going down the track.
Well, I didn't have that. I didn't have a bird's eye view. I had the view of the what the engineer would see.
Oh, you mean like in the almost like in the cupola area, like if you're in a caboose, for
Well,
example.
yeah, but I had one camera I had in a dummy engine, a dummy Santa Fe F3. I
Hmm.
had spaced, I just cut a little hole where the light lamp is, and it could look out and see as it went along.
Almost like
And
rail scope.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. That's a real. I think Railscope was black and white.
Hmm.
I remember I had one and I never liked it very much. It never worked well.
Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't really care that much for rail scope when it was released.
But but
And
it
plus, it was also very staticky too. Like, even though it got
uh,
a pretty decent video of the train
yeah
when it was rolling down the track, the
yeah
video picture is still kind of like it's still
hmm
kind of like scrambled all over the place to make it almost kind of making it a little bit difficult to see what's in front of you.
hmm. You know what I think might be possible in the future is we could have an operating session where people could every engine would have a camera in it and you can have an operating session with people from all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Entering through a website of some kind, and even have signals that you'd have to. These people who have layouts and they try to run them like real railroads. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's more the scale O people and things that do that more than our group. But I think at some point it's not impossible that we might have I could have a session with my own layout and people could run different trains, and we'd have signal indications that you'd have to obey, and
I'd be
maybe
really up
have.
for that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I know some clubs do it, where they have operating sessions, and they all, the goal is to get so many cars from this side of the layout to somewhere else, to different industries and things, but then the passenger train has to be let go through to make time, and they have all that stuff figured out. I've never done it, but I know friends who enjoy that, and maybe someone listening here has tried it.
And also, just in case you guys might not know, I am no stranger when it comes to anything VHS tape related. So you're looking at a really old school and nostalgic type of young person here. Just to let you guys know.
Well, what I would say to my customers when we had the hobby shop, it's your railroad. You run it the way you want to run it. Nobody can tell you. I had customers sometimes who would, run a 80-foot long auto rack with a Civil War engine, that kind of thing. And I'd say, yeah, you like it that way. No one should be able to tell you how to run your railroad. I think, I agree with that.
They sure do. And since we're actually on the subject of slow running post-war locomotives, let me just see if I can turn my camera around for a minute. And I know we didn't really get a chance to share my layout the last time we were live, so here we go. Actually, let me just fix the camera for a second. I'm not really too sure why they do this, but every time, there are times when I go live and all of a sudden the image on the screen is flipped over, almost like a mirror type of a. Let me see if I can just turn that off. There we go. All right, so here's the front of the main layout that I have. I'm still running everything off of my dad's original Lionel post-war ZW transformer that he had when he was a kid. So with it, I'm running at least like 3 loops. I have the main loop on the first layout in the front. And then in the back, we have the second layout, which is a little bit more of a realistic looking type of model railroad. And I use the ZW to power this line as well. And here on the track, I got my set of Lionel Bud cars, which I bought each and every one of them from different train shows. I bought one piece at a time. I got one piece at a Greenberg show and then the other one at York. And the one thing I really love about these is that if you run all 4 of them together, well, 2 of them are basically powered. But if you run all 4 of them, and if you're running them with the 2 powered units, you could basically run these things to a slow to a crawl. It's just not only just very cool, but also very dramatic to watch. And then walking over to the other side of the main layout, I got my inner circle. And I don't really want to give too much away because I'm still in the progress of making another layout update video for my channel. But I did have to swap out some buildings here and there, kind of like change them around. And I got my dad's over here, I got my dad's original church building. Again, that's Plasticville that he had when he was a kid. And I'm very more than honored to have it to this day. I also have like a little town building, which is again Plasticville, that I found at a antique store down here in Lewis. And this year, I'm running my grandmother's. I'm running a train set that my grandmother got me for my birthday many years ago when I was younger, when I was still going to school. It comes with the North Pole Central Lines 442 conventional Lionel steam locomotive. We also have the whistle tender. We have the box car, which on the bottom of the car is a switch, which allows you to play 12 different Christmas carols. But if you turn it on, it is pretty noisy, but it is very entertaining to listen to. And then we also have the animated gondola with Rudolph and the reindeer chasing each other around a stack of crates. Very similar to the original Lionel post-war Erie 3444 Erie gondola, but without the switch on the top. And then we also have a matching caboose to go with the set. And just in case you guys might see an extra car here with the consist, this is a brand new piece that me and my dad found at the York Show from October. This is the Lionel Collectors Club of America exclusive mint car decorated for the Texas Special. Then moving along the 282 gantry crane. We got a K-line factory with workers on the platform. We got the downtown area along with the upper section where I normally run my MTH trolley. But because I've ran that so many times here on my live streams, I decided to switch it up and swap it out for the Lionel game car. I know it's a little hard to tell because it's all the way on the other side of the layout, but that's always fun to take out every once in a while. And then we also have like a little field. We got the Plasticville farm. We got a K-line backhoe all the way in the corner in the center there. And finally over here we have the NPC reproduction of the 282, not 282, the 262 crossing gate and signal. And I did some modifications to this about like a year and a half ago, where I had to open up the back, and there is a tutorial on how to do this in the old TM Books and Video Series Toy Train Review, where Joe Stachler, I always have a hard time pronouncing his name, but anyway, he in that video showcased on how to wire the thing up correctly. And I also did have to replace the cross on here too, not because it was damaged or anything. It was mainly because I didn't want to tamper with the condition of it. So thankfully I have the old one in a safe place. And since I have the whole thing rewired here, I'm using a reproduction signal head. And there you have it. All right, so it doesn't really look like we have a whole lot of activity going on in the comments section. So guys, I think what we are going to do now, since we've been on the video for about like 45 minutes, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of an intermission, and we're going to go ahead and run some trains around the layout for a few minutes. And Phil, I don't know if you have any specific locomotives that you want to showcase or run for tonight, but you're very welcome to do so if that's what you like, if that's what you would like to do for this evening.
Sure, I'll do that, and tell me, you know, there are a couple, you know, I can run some things I can listen to. I don't know if any of you have heard the hobo car with the hobos singing. I think it's one of the cooler accessories because, you know, at one time they're cooking their meal and The hobo says one to the other, "Them's the best wieners I ever tasted."
You know,
Stuff like that.
I actually have a friend who lives about like he lives about basically like 20 to like 25 minutes away from where I am, but he also has that hobo car in his collection, and it's very fun to watch
Yeah,
in
so you've heard it.
not just in operation, but it's also very cool to listen to the sound effects of the
Yeah,
hobos chatting, you know, with
yeah,
each other
yeah.
by the
And
campfire.
they're playing harmonicas, and you know, it's. I mean, I love the creativity that goes into stuff like that. Um, anyway,
Same.
so
So
let's
anyway,
see.
I'm going to go ahead and hook up the layout for you guys. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. I mean, we're still going to be on, but we're going to be running some trains in the meantime for at least like maybe a few minutes. But I'll make sure to give everybody a shout out on when we are going to get back to the chatter or the sociable aspect of this video. So enjoy the rest of the live stream, and we'll be back in just a little bit.
Okay.
You doing okay, Phil?
Yes.
Almost lost you for a second there.
Well, for a second, your layout filled the whole screen. So I don't know if I didn't realize you could even change that, but it was bigger. But now I see both screens.
Okay, let me bring you guys on over to this area so that way we can have even more train action going on the screen here. Uh-oh. All right, looks like we seem to be having some technical difficulties here, so just bear with us for just a few minutes as we try to settle everything out. But you guys can rest assured we are going to continue this show tonight. So as we run the trains, we're going to give Phil a little bit of some time for him to get settled. But don't you worry, we'll have him back on very shortly. And like I said, we're trying our best to make sure we get all of these technical problems all sorted out. And remember what I always say here on the channel. Sometimes life isn't perfect, especially when it comes to technology. And sometimes model railroading isn't perfect, but we're not really looking for anything perfect tonight. We're just here to have fun. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
I wasn't sure. I put on my other camera and had the layout going at the same time.
Really?
I mean, I didn't know you could do that, but I thought, well, what the heck? Because all I was seeing was my face.
Uh huh. I mean,
But
I did see some really good shots of the big boy in action.
okay, so you could see that then. Okay,
Yes.
but then, at some point I was changing, and then your layout came back, but much larger.
Really?
Yes, but I mean, it looked good, but and I enjoy seeing it. But I'm just saying, I don't know what made those changes happen.
You know what it could be? Now I could be I'm not really too sure if this is the I'm not really too sure if this is the answer or not, but I think it might have something to do with the Wi-Fi down here. You know,
Well,
where I'm located.
something else, Mike, is right now I have my phone in my hand and I'm seeing it on my phone. Now I'm going to turn the iPad on and just see if it shows it there or not. I have that code number to try and get into Stream, to try and get in. But anyway, I think at this point, um, I'm just gonna quit for the night.
Okay.
Um, but
Um,
I'll have, maybe you and I could sometime just play around and a little beforehand and get some things, you know, um, figure out these screens and when you can, whatever made it larger. I think that'd be nice to be able to do, no matter whose layout we're watching. Uh,
sure. I mean, if that's um, if that's something that you still want to do at some point down the road, we can definitely do that. Let me
yeah.
let me just see if I can turn my camera around real quick, so that way we can end the show for tonight.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn the power off, so that way we can wrap up for this evening. So just bear with me for just a second, and I'll be back in just a moment to wrap the show up for you guys. Steady, steady. Point it. Okay, guys, so we're getting closer to the ending of the show, but before we do, let me just go ahead and turn my face around so that way you guys can see not only just Phil, but also me as well. So let me just put my headphones in and we can turn the camera around. Go settings. Can you still hear me? Phil? Okay, let me see if I can try something. Phil? All right, don't you worry, guys. We are still trying to work things out. There we go. Yeah, let's try the other way. That's better. Okay. Now, again, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time for joining us for this evening. I know this last part of the episode didn't really go exactly as planned with the issues that we're having with the Wi-Fi as of right now. But I can assure you we'll get things wrapped up before you know it. There we go. Chat button. Hmm. Don't really see any sign of him yet. Well, I guess we're gonna have to I guess we're just going to have to log off for tonight anyway. But guys, again, I just want to thank everybody for joining us for this evening. I know things didn't really go as according to plan for the ending of this episode, but I can assure you that we will be back again, hopefully, to straighten things out and do a final part of this live stream. So this will just have to act as part one. So stay tuned for part two, and we'll catch you guys later.